Today is a nice day. It's a few days after the holidays, and I'm going to make muffins today. I have leftover sweet potatoes that were in my freezer. When I made sweet potato gnocchis, I always put the leftovers in the freezer because today we're going to make sweet potato muffins from an old recipe called squash muffins. I've always used leftover butternut squash or any other squash that you have left over that's been mashed. You only need a cup. So what I did is I put my cup of sweet potato when I made my gnocchis, and I've stuck them in the freezer. So now I have taken them out and I've thawed them at room temperature. And I'm putting a stick of butter. And I have here a quarter cup of some nice molasses, and it's the unsulfured. And I had just sprayed these before, as you can see, to help them come out easier with a little bit of the spray in the can, the oil, and I did the honey. This is very thick honey. Look how nice that comes out just by putting oil in the bottom or a little bit of your aerosol can of oil spray. My honey is thick because I get raw honey from my local beekeepers. And I don't use sugar. I find that putting honey and molasses together, look at that, how nice, makes a really nice sugary taste. So we've got our softened butter, we've got our quarter cup of blackstrap molasses, and a half a cup of good raw honey. And in here I have my flour separate. I have 1 3/4 cup of flour, and to that I'm going to add, this is a teaspoon, believe it or not, baking soda. And I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then what I like to do is just take any old whisk these all together. So you've got them all, the soda, the salt is incorporated into the flour mixture. So when you dump it in there, you don't, now we'll just set that aside. When you dump it in there, it's all ready to go. It's all nicely mixed together. Well, into our butter mixture, we're going to put 1 egg. And I've got that up to room temperature as well. Put my bowl over here, my junk bowl. And I'm going to put in my 1 cup of sweet potatoes. And just mix that up really well. These are so healthy and nutritious. And today I did not use the whole wheat flour. Usually I do half and half, the whole wheat and the unbleached. Today I just did the white unbleached. Okay, we're going to put that in there in a second. But also I want to show you over here what I just lightly chopped up with my knife, and this is all that I did, because in this recipe I find that if you've got the nice big chunks, that's it, big chunks of nuts. It does call for walnuts, but I'm using pecans because that's what I happen to have in my cupboard, and I like a nice full 3/4 cup. So we're going to add that to our mix. We're going to just put the flour in. Remember, we got the soda and the salt in there, and just stir that all together. There, it's coming together nicely. You just do it by by hand. To have better control of the bowl. There. Now we're going to just, you can do it 2 ways. You can throw these in. Sometimes if I feel up to it, what I'll do is I'll put the batter in my tins, and then I can just place the nuts on top. So you're guaranteed that each one is really loaded. And when I do it on top, I take the back of a spoon and make sure I press it down in there as well. I don't leave them just laying on top. Believe it or not, walnuts is really good. Walnuts is good in this recipe, but I'm using the pecans. Okay, now we're going to put them in. It should be about a dozen muffins. You could choose if you'd like to make the little mini ones. Sometimes I do, depending on what occasion it is, what I want to use it for. It's nice for kids for lunches. You can give them 2 or 3 and they feel like, wow, I got a whole bunch of dessert muffins for my lunch. And sometimes the quantity to children, you know, they're all about, I want more. So we're going to just take a scoop of this, drop it into each muffin pan that I lightly sprayed it with my aerosol in the can, the oil aerosol. And you really, if you want to just put, if you're into Crisco or lard, if you want to just coat the very bottoms of these pans, that's good enough. You don't have to do the whole edges, just the bottom is good. And nice and easy and quick it is using this little tool. I'm all about shortening my time and doing things. I used to do this with a spoon all the time and it's a mess and it takes forever. So there you go. Oh, we put a little bit more in that one. So we've got our muffins in the pan ready to go in our 375-degree oven. And we're going to bake them in there for about 15, 20 minutes. And we'll take a look when they come out. We've taken our muffins out of the oven. I had them setting on my little cooling rack for about 5 minutes. Look how nice those are. And yes, I did have some left over in the bowl, and you're probably wondering, what is this big ramekin doing here? Well, I thought I'm not going to just throw the rest away. I stuck it in a ramekin, and I've got a nice big muffin. And guess who gets that one? Not me, yet my husband. That's for him. So anyways, these are, we were talking about, they're my squash muffin recipe, but I used leftover sweet potato. You can see the pecans in there. Very good. I'll tell you what I've done. I've done several things. I've put the muffins in the pan and just taking either the walnuts or the pecans and just hand broke several of them, put them on the top of each muffin, and then just push them down. That way, you get more of a nuttier flavor because the walnuts or the pecans are huge, and it makes a world of difference versus having them all incorporated like this. Taste is still wonderful, just what you prefer. That was one thing. The other thing I've done with these, because I grew up in the past with a lot of allergies and stuff, I tried to stay from wheat. Many of you probably want to. And I have done this using maybe a 1/4 cup of soy, 3/4 cup of rice flour, and even 3/4 cup of buckwheat flour. And it comes out fine. So you may want to just fool around with the different flours. The other thing is you can use, instead of the honey molasses, you can just use maple syrup. Put a 1/2 cup of maple syrup in there. Changes the whole flavor, but it's delicious. Or you can add cinnamon if you like a little cinnamon. Don't be so confined. Experiment. Nothing is right or wrong. It's what you think of. The other nice thing is your children get to eat a muffin and they get some squash, some vegetables into their little bodies. So for today, that's it on my squash muffin recipe using my leftover sweet potato. For the recipe, go to my channel or my website, memorableFoodDishes.com, and enjoy.